In today's video, we're diving into 3 chilling stories from the Arctic that will make you question everything you think you know about polar bear encounters. From an overconfident photographer to a dedicated scientist, these tales reveal how quickly the world's most powerful predator can turn deadly. Today, we're exploring when experience means nothing against nature's ultimate apex predator. It was July 15th, 2016, in a remote area of Swalbard, Norway. The midnight sun hung low on the horizon, casting an ethereal glow across the rocky coastline where scattered ice floes drifted silently in the Arctic Ocean. At 2:30 a.m., the landscape appeared deceptively peaceful, with only the distant sound of waves lapping against ice breaking the Arctic silence. Daphne Voss was 24, a freelance wildlife photographer from Denver, who had traveled to Swalbard with her boyfriend Jasper to document Arctic wildlife during the brief summer season. This marked her first expedition into polar bear territory, though she had successfully photographed black bears in Colorado's wilderness areas. Her portfolio included work for several nature magazines, and she was known for her willingness to get close to wildlife for dramatic shots. Daphne possessed proper permits for the expedition and had completed the mandatory safety briefing required for all visitors to Swalbard. The couple had established their camp near the coastline, following regulations that required them to carry bear protection equipment at all times outside the settlement. Local authorities had specifically mentioned a young male bear spotted in the area during the previous week, feeding on seal carcasses along the shoreline. Jasper had insisted Daphne take their rifle for the early morning photo session, but she had dismissed his concerns, believing her flare gun provided adequate protection for what she planned as a quick 30-minute shoot. Leaving camp without the rifle constituted a clear violation of Svalbard safety regulations, a fact that would later be emphasized by investigators. Posted warnings throughout the area clearly stated that mandatory bear protection was required outside the settlement boundaries, with specific emphasis on the unpredictable nature of young male bears. The night before, they had discovered a partially consumed seal carcass approximately 300 yards from their tent site, clear evidence of active bear presence in the immediate vicinity. Fresh tracks in the muddy shoreline indicated the bear had been in the area within the past 24 hours. Despite these warning signs, Daphne remained confident in her ability to handle any wildlife encounter, citing her experience with potentially dangerous animals in other environments. The fog that morning created perfect photographic conditions, but also provided ideal cover for predators moving through the terrain. Young male polar bears between 2 and 5 years old present unique dangers to humans. Recently separated from their mothers, these subadult bears weigh between 400 and 700 pounds and display intense curiosity about unfamiliar objects and potential food sources. Unlike older, more experienced bears that have learned to avoid human contact, young males often approach humans directly, driven by curiosity that can rapidly shift to predatory behavior. Their lack of learned caution, combined with their substantial size and strength, makes them particularly unpredictable in human encounters. These bears are also more likely to investigate new scents and sounds, making them dangerous to photographers who focus intently on their equipment. At 2:30 a.m., Daphne quietly left their tent to photograph the midnight sun's reflection off nearby ice formations. Jasper remained sleeping with their rifle positioned beside his sleeping bag, completely unaware of her departure. She positioned herself approximately 60 yards from camp, focusing intently on adjusting her camera settings to capture the unique Arctic lighting conditions. The thick fog provided perfect cover for the young male bear as it approached from downwind, following the scent trail that led directly to their campsite. The bear had likely been investigating their camp for some time, drawn by food odors and human scent. Daphne became aware of movement when the outline of a polar bear emerged from the fog, at an estimated distance of approximately 50 feet from her position. The animal's approach was largely silent, its visibility limited by the fog conditions that reduced contrast along the shoreline. As she reached for the flare gun secured to her belt, the bear briefly paused, orienting toward her location before continuing forward. likely responding to overlapping human scent and residual food odors originating from the nearby campsite. Daphne discharged the flare gun in the direction of the approaching bear, producing a brief flash of light and sound that caused the animal to alter its movement and retreat several steps back into the fog. The response was temporary. After a short pause, the bear resumed its approach, displaying reduced hesitation compared to its initial reaction and continuing toward her position along the shoreline. Jasper jolted awake to Daphne's terrified cry, immediately grabbing the rifle as he scrambled from the tent in his underwear and boots. He could hear her screaming, but couldn't see through the thick fog. Running toward the sound of her voice, he shouted warnings while trying to locate her position. The bear had closed the remaining distance and knocked Daphne backward with tremendous force from its massive forepaw, sending her sprawling across the rocky ground. Jasper arrived to see the bear looming over Daphne's prone form. He raised the rifle but couldn't get a clear shot with Daphne directly beneath the animal. He fired a warning shot into the air, the crack echoing across the landscape. The bear lifted its head momentarily but didn't retreat. Jasper tried to circle for a better angle, shouting and making noise, but the bear had already begun its attack. In his panic and the poor visibility, he couldn't risk a shot that might hit Daphne. The initial contact resulted in fractures to Daphne's left arm and multiple ribs, forcing her to the ground. The bear's body weight restricted her movement as it delivered a series of crushing bites to the upper torso and head region, producing extensive traumatic injuries consistent with predatory attack behavior observed in polar bear fatalities. Jasper continued shouting and firing warning shots, desperately trying to distract the animal, but the bear remained focused on its attack. He attempted to get closer, but each time he advanced, the bear's positioning made any shot impossible without hitting Daphne. Daphne's screams gradually weakened over the following minutes as massive blood loss and shock overwhelmed her system. Jasper watched helplessly, continuing his attempts at distraction until her cries finally faded to silence. The bear remained focused on feeding, occasionally lifting its head to scan the area before returning to its meal. Only when the bear moved away from the body did Jasper dare approach. His hands shaking violently, he activated their satellite communicator. After multiple failed attempts caused by poor satellite geometry and his shaking hands, he successfully contacted emergency services. Due to deteriorating weather conditions and the remote location, helicopter rescue couldn't launch immediately. Rescue teams arrived several hours later when fog conditions improved enough for safe helicopter operations. They found Daphne's camera and tripod undisturbed near her original shooting position, while her body showed clear evidence of the attack. The memory card in her camera contained her final photographs, including several shots of the approaching bear taken moments before the encounter. The images showed the bear's progression from curious investigation to focused predatory behavior. Daphne's tragic end served as a stark reminder that the Arctic shows no mercy to those who underestimate its dangers. Thousands of miles away in Alaska, another individual would soon learn that experience and confidence could prove equally fatal when facing the world's most powerful predator. It was April 22, 2015, in the Beaufort Sea region of northern Nunavut, Canada. Late spring temperatures held at 18 degrees Fahrenheit as afternoon light began fading toward the extended Arctic dusk. The frozen tundra stretched endlessly in all directions, broken only by patches of sea ice that had been pushed inland by winter storms. Tate Kruger was 41, a southern Canadian hunter operating under an Inuit tag holder agreement. He had spent his vacation time hunting across North America for over 2 decades. His trophy room contained grizzly bears from Alaska, black bears from Montana, and elk from Colorado, but he had never attempted a polar bear hunt. This expedition represented the culmination of years of planning and saving, as polar bear hunting required substantial financial investment and extensive coordination with licensed guides. His local Inuit guide, Ezekiel, possessed 15 years of experience in the region, and was known throughout the hunting community for his cautious approach to dangerous game. They were operating as a 2-man team, following traditional hunting methods that had been used in the region for generations. However, weather conditions were deteriorating rapidly, creating challenges that even experienced hunters found difficult to manage. Ezekiel had noted unusually aggressive bear behavior in recent weeks, with several encounters reported by other hunting parties in the area. Local Inuit hunters had specifically mentioned a large male bear that had killed and cached multiple seals in the immediate vicinity, indicating a well-fed but highly territorial animal that would defend its food sources aggressively. Fresh tracks discovered that morning indicated the bear had been feeding in the area within the past 24 hours. The tracks measured over 12 inches in length, suggesting an exceptionally large male that could weigh well over 1,000 pounds. Ezekiel had recommended postponing the hunt due to deteriorating weather conditions that were making accurate shooting increasingly dangerous, but Tate insisted they continue, citing the substantial cost of the expedition and his limited time in Nunavut. The guide's concerns were based on decades of experience with polar bear behavior and Arctic weather patterns. Tate's arrogance about his hunting abilities would prove to be a fatal mistake. Large adult male polar bears between 8 and 20 years old represent the ultimate apex predator in Arctic environments. These massive animals weigh between 900 and 1,500 pounds, with some exceptional individuals exceeding these measurements. During spring months, they actively hunt to replenish energy reserves depleted during the winter season, when hunting opportunities are limited by ice conditions. A mature male defending a food cache becomes extremely territorial and will aggressively attack anything perceived as competition for its resources. When wounded, these intelligent predators become unpredictably dangerous, often charging immediately due to pain and adrenaline rather than retreating to safety as other animals might do. Through the falling snow, Tate spotted the massive male bear approximately 150 yards away, guarding a seal carcass near a pressure ridge in the ice. Even at that distance, the bear's enormous size was clearly apparent, its white form standing out against the darker ice formations. Ezekiel immediately advised retreating due to poor visibility conditions that made accurate shot placement extremely difficult, but Tate insisted the opportunity was manageable given his extensive hunting experience. He had successfully taken dangerous game at similar distances in other environments and felt confident in his abilities. Despite the challenging conditions, Tate moved to a prone shooting position, using his rifle's scope to acquire the target through the swirling snow. The bear remained focused on its seal carcass, occasionally lifting its head to scan the surrounding area for potential threats or competitors. Ezekiel positioned himself approximately 50 yards to Tate's left, maintaining visual contact while providing backup coverage. At a range of approximately 120 yards, Tate fired his first shot. The bullet struck the bear's hindquarter, creating a substantial wound but failing to hit vital organs. The impact caused the bear to roar in pain and immediately orient toward the source of the attack, its massive head swinging toward the hunter's position. The wounded bear charged directly through the falling snow, driven by pain and territorial aggression rather than fear. Its massive form moved with surprising speed across the uneven ice surface, covering ground with powerful strides that demonstrated the incredible athleticism of these apex predators. Tate cycled the bolt-action rifle and fired a second round as the bear advanced through the deteriorating visibility. Snowfall and wind reduced effective target definition, and the shot struck the shoulder musculature without penetrating vital organs or interrupting the animal's forward movement. Ezekiel fired once from his flanking position. However, visibility conditions and Tate's position on the ice limited available shot angles. The round struck the bear's side without producing immediate incapacitation, and no additional shots were taken due to the increased risk of striking the downed hunter. The bear reached Tate's position and struck him with a powerful blow from its forepaw, sending him sprawling across the ice, but not killing him instantly. Tate's rifle flew from his hands as he hit the ground hard, breaking his right leg and dislocating his shoulder. The wounded, enraged bear immediately pounced on the helpless hunter. The massive bear's jaws clamped down on Tate's upper thigh, crushing the femoral artery as he screamed in agony. The wounded bear, driven by pain and rage, began tearing at his leg and hip area with devastating efficiency. Tate remained conscious for roughly a minute as the bear attacked, his screams echoing across the frozen landscape before massive blood loss from the severed femoral artery caused him to lose consciousness. Ezekiel continued firing from his position, but the bear's focus on its attack and the poor visibility made safe shot placement impossible without risking hitting Tate. The bear's behavior became increasingly erratic as its own wounds and the intensifying weather conditions affected its actions. After several minutes of attack, the bear began to show signs of its own blood loss and pain, occasionally pausing to shake its head or lick at its wounds. Ezekiel immediately contacted emergency services using his satellite phone, providing their GPS coordinates and describing the situation to rescue personnel. The wounded bear eventually moved away from Tate's body, disappearing into the swirling snow as the blizzard conditions intensified. Due to blizzard conditions that had worsened throughout the afternoon, rescue helicopters couldn't launch until weather conditions improved the following day. When rescue teams arrived, they found Tate's rifle positioned several feet from where his body lay. The bolt was open with an empty cartridge case still in the chamber, indicating he had attempted to fire additional shots before the bear reached his position. Blood trails in the snow suggested the wounded bear had moved away from the area, though its ultimate fate remained unknown. Canadian authorities classified the incident as a hunting accident, noting that poor judgment and deteriorating weather conditions had contributed to the fatal outcome. Tate's arrogance had cost him everything, proving how quickly overconfidence could turn deadly when facing wounded predators in challenging conditions. In the remote Canadian Arctic, a dedicated scientist would soon discover that even the most careful preparation couldn't guarantee survival against a mother's protective fury. It was March 18, 2017, at a temporary research station near Resolute Bay, Canada. Late winter with bright sunlight reflected off the snow-covered landscape, creating ideal conditions for both scientific work and polar bear activity. The flat terrain extended for miles toward the frozen bay, offering unlimited visibility under clear, calm conditions. The crystalline air provided perfect clarity for observations, but also meant that any movement across the landscape would be easily visible from great distances. Dr. Sloan Mercer was 31, a glaciologist conducting critical ice formation research as part of a larger climate change study. She possessed extensive Arctic experience, including 3 previous research seasons in northern Canada, and was considered a leading expert in her field. Her research partner, Dr. Orion Cross, was working alongside her following mandatory buddy system protocols, while 2 graduate students remained at the main station half a mile away. The team had been in the field for 2 weeks without incident. The research station operated under strict safety protocols, requiring regular radio contact every 2 hours. Local Inuit guides had reported a female polar bear with yearling cubs actively hunting in the vicinity, information shared with all research teams in the area. Base camp protocols specifically addressed the increased danger posed by mother bears with cubs, emphasizing immediate retreat if encountered. The guides had stressed that mother bears were unpredictable and would attack without warning if they perceived any threat to their offspring, making them far more dangerous than solitary bears. Fresh tracks had been discovered near their equipment cache that morning during routine inspection, indicating recent bear activity in the immediate area. The tracks showed a large female with smaller cub prints alongside, confirming the presence of the reported family group that had been spotted by other research teams in recent days. The clear weather conditions meant increased bear activity during daylight hours, as the animals took advantage of good visibility for hunting seals at breathing holes scattered across the frozen bay. Despite these warning signs, the research schedule required data collection to continue, as the brief Arctic research season left little room for delays caused by wildlife activity. Dr. Sloan's dedication to her work and her confidence in established safety protocols would prove to be a fatal combination. Female polar bears with yearling cubs between 12 and 18 months old represent one of the most dangerous encounters possible in the Arctic environment. These mothers weigh between 400 and 600 pounds, making them smaller than adult males, but significantly more aggressive when defending their young from any perceived threat. They will attack any creature that approaches too closely without warning or hesitation, displaying a level of protective aggression that exceeds even that of territorial males defending food sources. The cubs at this age are large enough to follow their mothers across ice, but still completely dependent on maternal protection and guidance. After eliminating a threat, mothers typically disengage quickly to return to their cubs, but will continue attacking if the cub remains close to the danger zone or shows signs of distress. Dr. Sloan was recording ice thickness measurements using specialized drilling equipment, while Dr. Orion worked on calibrating instruments 50 yards away, maintaining required visual contact. When she noticed the female bear with a yearling cub approximately 100 yards away, the mother was moving parallel to their position, apparently following a scent trail toward a distant seal breathing hole. She immediately radioed the main station to report the sighting and began slowly backing away from her equipment, following established protocols that emphasized slow, non-threatening movements. Despite protocol requiring immediate retreat when bears were sighted, Dr. Sloan decided to quickly finish her current measurement, believing she had enough time before the bears reached her position. The drilling equipment represented hours of setup work, and abandoning it would mean losing valuable data that couldn't be easily replaced given their limited time in the field. Her decision was influenced by the bears' apparent lack of interest in the research team, as they seemed focused on hunting activities rather than investigating human presence. This violation of established safety protocols would prove to be a fatal error in judgment. The mother bear suddenly changed direction, apparently detecting the human scent carried by shifting wind patterns across the flat terrain. Her protective instincts immediately activated as she identified potential threats to her cub in the area. The yearling cub, curious about the unusual activity, had begun moving closer to the research site instead of maintaining the safe distance its mother expected. Dr. Orion noticed the change in the bear's behavior and began shouting warnings while moving toward Dr. Sloan's position, but the distance between them meant he couldn't reach her quickly enough. The mother bear broke into a charge, covering the remaining distance with surprising speed as her cub followed behind, now dangerously close to the perceived threat. Dr. Sloan attempted to retreat toward the emergency shelter, but the bear's charge was too fast for her to escape across the open terrain. The mother bear struck her with tremendous force, knocking her to the ground and immediately beginning a vicious attack focused on eliminating what she perceived as a threat to her offspring. The bear's powerful jaws clamped down on Dr. Sloan's torso, crushing ribs and causing massive internal injuries as she screamed in terror and pain. The cub's proximity to the attack site kept the mother bear engaged, as her protective instincts demanded she continue until the threat was completely neutralized. Dr. Orion fired flares from the emergency kit while radioing for emergency assistance, but the mother bear remained focused on her attack, driven by maternal instincts that overrode any deterrent effects. The cub's distressed vocalizations near the attack site intensified the mother's aggressive response, preventing her from disengaging as she would normally do after neutralizing a threat. Dr. Sloan's screams gradually weakened as the bear continued her assault, inflicting devastating injuries that caused rapid blood loss and trauma. The attack continued for approximately 2 minutes as the mother bear ensured the threat was completely eliminated while her cub remained in the danger zone. Only when the cub finally moved to a safer distance did the mother bear's protective aggression begin to subside. Dr. Orion maintained his position at a safe distance, continuing to watch the incident for rescue personnel while being unable to intervene without risking his own life. Emergency response teams were dispatched immediately, but a mechanical failure with the primary rescue helicopter meant the backup aircraft had to deploy from a more distant base. Additionally, the research team's snowmobile had broken down that morning, preventing the graduate students from reaching the site quickly. Dr. Sloan succumbed to her injuries within minutes as massive trauma and blood loss overwhelmed her system. The mother bear eventually moved away with her cub, disappearing across the frozen landscape. Rescue teams arrived over an hour later to find Dr. Sloan's drilling equipment still running, the automated systems continuing to collect data. Her research notes, scattered around the attack site, showed detailed ice observations that would later contribute to important climate research. The incident investigation revealed that while proper safety protocols existed, human judgment had failed when Dr. Sloan chose to continue working instead of immediately retreating upon sighting the bears. The research station was temporarily closed while enhanced safety protocols were developed, including mandatory equipment abandonment procedures when wildlife was encountered. Thanks for watching. If you liked these stories, click here.